You are now listening to the Two Dads Run podcast. Just two dads who run, talking about running and being dads and some other stuff.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the Two Dads Run podcast, and this is Kevin.
And this is Gray.
So today is a very special episode. We've had the past, Gray and I have had the opportunity to interview most recent Nick Willis, Ben Canute, my goodness, Cara D'Amato. We've had some Olympians. Pretty much everybody that we've been speaking to lately is actually heading to Tokyo, and we've got to see a couple people this past week on TV and compete. So it's been pretty awesome what we've, I guess, as far as who we've spoken with. But I'll tell you, this episode, Gray, definitely looking forward to it more than anything right now. This guy, he was the one that we've been talking to or been talking about since episode 1. But before all that, actually, even before there was an episode 1, this was a guy that brought us together years ago, 25 years ago. Again, you know, with you being 1 year behind me, really kind of just the generations of success that he had with us in running, but, you know, more importantly, I think us as men. But I'm talking about no other than Coach Jesse Autry.
What up, Coach?
How we doing, guys? How we doing?
Good,
doing good.
Thanks so much for joining us on the show. Like Kevin was saying, I mean, you were someone who played a gigantic role in our lives and just, you know, bringing this team together and building something really special. And we're going to go over all of that. But tell our listeners a little bit about what you were able to accomplish at the high school level.
Well, you know, I think when I first started, I was only supposed to be a 1 year guy until they found a real coach. Jackie Warner, who is the mayor of Hope Mills now, was my athletic director. And she saw me coaching rec basketball. Kevin, you remember that because you played rec basketball for me.
I remember.
That's how me and Kevin got to know each other. I just asked Kevin to run for me because I didn't have anybody to run. And I just remember I asked you, Jordan Allen. There was a few of the guys, Robert Clark. You know, we asked all those guys, man. And I remember, I'll tell you this: I've got some state championship plaques on the wall over there and all, but right up there with them is that plaque that I got back in the day. I got a plaque from you guys. You probably don't even remember, but it's like one of my most cherished things. And I told my wife, I said, if you look up here, you see the state. You know, we won a couple state championships. The coach gets a plaque and a ring. And, I got my teacher of the year plaque, which, to be honest with you, the year I got that was like one of my worst years teaching. So that was like a lifetime achievement award. They felt sorry for me. Yeah, I got pulled over. I didn't even know I was going to win. My daughter won senior of the year I won teacher of the year. So I don't know if I was riding her coattails, but I got that old Celtics plaque up there on the wall because a lot of my fundamentals of coaching I really learned from that. And but you know, when Jackie talked me into doing it, I went out there. We had one boy and two girls, and that guy, I remember his name. I remember everybody's names, but he didn't last. But the guys I brought in from that Celtics team and a few other kids, we brought in Joey Biddix, Jesse Springer, and we started building that thing. James Cole came along, a couple others, and we just started putting it together, man. And we just had no idea what we were doing. I certainly had no idea what I was doing. But you know, it was just all about work, man, and trying to build something. So as we went through the year, I've done a seminar in the past at the coaches clinic for track coaches called "How to Build Something When You Know Nothing," because I knew nothing about building a high school program. And Kevin, you remember our first year doing Celtic basketball, or maybe, I don't know if you were with me that very first year, we lost every game.
Yeah.
We lost every game, but we lost, I don't know if you know this, but the first game we lost like 83-12. The last game we lost like 21-18 or something. So I knew we're getting better. We're getting better. We were young. We were a young team. We were getting better. And then the next year we started getting really competitive. We ended up winning some championships and stuff. So, you know, it's kind of the same way with Southview cross country and track was, you know, we went out there, man, and I didn't even know what to do. I remember our first practice I ever did when I had Dorothy McFalls and
Wow.
Heather, Phil Moore. And I said, okay, y'all, let's run 2 laps around the school, because I didn't know what was even far. And I think about that. That's probably not even a mile. And I'm not talking about around the school grounds. I'm talking about around the school building. And I could tell they're like, oh crap, we are in trouble.
Well, Coach, I mean, I definitely remember when I was running, I came along a year after Kevin. I remember, and this was one of the things that kind of stuck with me, is that yes, you were fairly new. You guys had just won the first conference championship and things like that, and you were actively recruiting me by standing outside of my locker every day, basically badgering me. Hey, are you gonna come run for me or what? Like, you were literally built to run. But I remember seeing all of the coaching manuals and just how much time that you were putting into honing
the Book of Joe.
Honing this craft, and figuring out how to be the best that you could. And that was something that that really stuck with me, is that if you want to get better at something, you have to keep working.
That's right. And that's it in a nutshell. Is one of my units in my coaches clinic thing I did was you got to have bugs. So I started bugging older coaches, and I started reading about Joe Newton. And I call it the Book of Joe, but I actually got that from you, Gray. Years ago, you said, "Oh, it's the Book of Joe," because you had read some Joe Newton. To this day, when I talk to coaches, they go, "How did you get started?" I go, "Well, let me give you some reading. It's out of print, but you need to get the Book of Joe. It's called Coaching High School Cross Country Successfully, but I call it the Book of Joe." And but I actually got that from you. Do you even remember that?
I don't.
You were the person that said, the Book of Joe. And right, I said, and to this day, I say the Book of Joe, because it makes it sound more biblical. But I read a lot of that. But I will tell you, we went, Kevin, in your first year, we went to our first Wolfpack Invitational hosted by NC State, and we got absolutely blasted.
That was a tough course too.
It was tough.
We're just some hoodlums,
and the competition was tough. Yeah, we were a bunch of hoodlums, man, including me, especially me. And we went out there, and I started looking at the teams that were really good. Leesfield Road, Chapel Hill, Northern Durham was real good back then. Watauga was spectacular. And so what I did was I went up to those coaches and I bugged them. How you do this? How you do that? I got bugs, and I bugged them, and I got their phone numbers. Roy Cooper from Apex.
Nice.
Roy Cooper from Apex High School, not the governor, but coach. But Roy Cooper from Apex, and they all were very receptive and helpful and talked to me, and I could call them anytime. And I can't say enough. In fact, I will tell you, Gray, your senior year, when we first went to the state championship, and Kevin, remember how your senior year lasted. Up until I retired, and even now with my AAU kids, I tell the story about how close we were, and about how you just can't take things for granted. And you remember that day, Kevin? Am I right?
Oh, absolutely.
November 6th, 1999.
That's right. Leave no room for error.
Right down Gray's neighbor. It's his backyard right now.
Hey, leave no room for error. Gray, I believe you and Getch came up with that.
Yep.
Anyway, and Matt Borges.
Yeah.
And but anyway, long story short, and those were growing moments for me as a coach, and I think for y'all as well, and us as a program. But I bug those coaches to death. What's funny is I'm the guy that gets bugged now because I'm the old guy now.
Well,
those coaches were receptive. But going back to what I was going to say was when we were leaving, when y'all we went to the state championship, we were 15th that first year.
Something like that.
Out of 16 teams, but we were there. We made it to the dance. We weren't ready to be the prom queen yet. But when we were walking across and of course it was the year after the mathematical error meet that Kevin's senior year.
Yep.
And Roy Cooper, I remember, was apologizing because Leesfield Road and Lee County, the computer was reading them the same because the abbreviation was the same, LEE in the computer. And that's what caused the mix-up. And I remember, the leave no room for error. Remember, we ran against Lee County the first meeting of the season. We wanted them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, we're going there. We'll go wherever you go. We're going. Lee County became our scheduling person because we were going to follow them.
Really
And
did. You really had
yeah.
the vendetta the next
Yeah,
year.
we
where they
do-
go
we
Oh
went
to-
no,
to-
it was yeah, it was
Western
and
Harnett High School in the middle of freaking nowhere.
That's exactly
on the
right.
flattest, fastest course you've ever seen.
Ever. And they finished on a track which I never forgot, which is why the Jungle Run does to this day. But I will tell you, after all that, we went to states. When we were walking across the that long bridge that went out of McAlpine Park that went over that creek. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
Roy Cooper, I felt this big hand on my shoulder. We'd finished. It was the year after we were 16th with you, 15th with you. Hey, we almost made it with Kevin. Then with your senior year, we made it, and we were 15th.
Yep.
And then the year after you left, what you guys don't realize is what y'all did. Leadership is defined. I read this, and I believe this. Leadership is defined not by really what happens when you're there, but what you leave behind. And y'all don't realize the impact that y'all had on guys like Matt Borges, like Jason, Josh, Fish, and Josh. And just the impact you guys had on all those younger fellas, man. And, that next year we were 5th after you left. And we were walking across that bridge, and I felt this big hand on my shoulder. And I turned around, it was Roy Cooper, the guy who had told me about the mathematical error, because he was the meet director that year, Kevin. And I turned around and said, "Hey, Coach, what's going on?" He said, "Jesse, I wanted to say something to you about what happened last year." I said, "Oh, don't remind me." He said, "Well, you guys, how far y'all have come, you and your young men, what y'all have accomplished in such a short period of time has really been impressive." And he said, "And I just wanted to compliment you on it." And to me, Roy Cooper, I thought he was the best coach in the state. Him and Ron Olson from Chapel Hill, and I worshiped that guy. And I was like, "Wow, Roy Cooper's telling me we're doing a good job." And so I wanted to be modest, and I'll never forget what I said to him. I said, and we were 5th, right? I looked at him and I said, "Well, we just hope to be one of the great programs like Apex one day." And you know what he said to me? He said, "Jesse, we were 6th today."
There you go. Well,
I never forgot that.
And it's not just
I
one
never-
time, though. I mean, how many consecutive cross country championships did you win in conference?
Well, I don't. When you by you mean Southview.
Yes,
We won 21
21.
on the men's side, and we ended up winning in that same 21-year stretch. We won 12 or 13 of the girls. It took a little longer to get the girls going,
And
but once we
then
got them going, we were good.
state title.
State championship. We've won one in cross country. We've won one in indoor track, but we won multiple regional championships in track and cross country as a team. But you get to the point where you're not really counting that stuff. We've been state runner-up. I'll tell you this: the best coaching job I ever did was when my son. You guys remember little Jesse?
Mhm.
His senior year. In fact, his best friend Connor Main is my assistant head coach for my AAU team. And his team, man, there was no explanation for us to be a contender. But those guys, they had that special bond like y'all did. And I've been asked before. I was asked to speak one year at camp at App State. And John Weaver had asked all the coaches that had been fortunate enough to win the state championship. John Weaver's the coach at App State, or he was. He's retired. He said, "I want the coaches that have won a state championship in the coaches meeting to think about this. On Tuesday, we have our goal seminar. What were the commonalities in your most successful teams? It doesn't have to always be state. I said state championship teams. He said, "What teams you?" Because not just because I was like, I only had one up to that point.
And everybody's looking at you like, "Come on, really?"
Well, it wasn't that. It was like the team that we had, Kevin, that won the first conference title. I always tell people my 3 biggest moments for a long time in my coaching were when we won our first conference title, when we won our first regional title, and then we won our first state title. You know what I mean? And that makes sense. There's nothing like your first kiss, man. That's the way it was, but Terry Sanford looked like, they had us, and they beat us every time we raced them that year until the conference meet. But I was doing math. And Kevin, I don't know if you remember this, but you and Rory Blake. Anyways, Y'all
So
told me
many shout outs today. We're gonna post this all over.
Oh, we're
Roy,
gonna
Roy.
have to let them know.
This might be
for
the
sure.
most
They'll
listened
love this
to
one.
episode we've
Go
ever
ahead,
had.
Go ahead. They'll love it.
Well, anyways, Roy Blake and you had worked. I think it was. I'm sure it was you. Were you in the Key Club too with Roy? You were, right?
We were.
Yeah, you guys.
They just wanted to wear those tuxes at the come prom time.
Whatever it takes to get the tux on. It's all good. It was the same
I
way
did
when
it
I was
too.
in Key Club at Southview. I remember Key Club. We got in trouble though because we had a homecoming float called Bird to Turd.
Oh man, I remember we went to Mr. Dixon's his farm.
Oh wow.
And P.O. and all those guys too.
Oh yeah.
They took
P.O.'s daughter's running for me.
Yeah. Oh, I saw you.
Yeah.
See, this is how old you're getting. You're forgetting because I went there and I saw you.
I remember you were there, but I just
you were so busy.
I didn't connect the connection as always. But anyways, coming back to what I was saying, which was y'all came to me and we were about 2 weeks out from the conference championship. We had raced Terry Sanford 3 times, and their coach was actually a friend of mine when I was in college. He was kind of a mentor to me, and I student taught at Terry Sanford, and he was a mentor to me. And I've always liked him and thought a lot of him. Kevin Height, he was a good coach. But I had noticed that the first time they beat us, it was like pretty big margin. The next time they beat us, it was like 15 points, and then the last time they beat us was like by 4. I was like, wait a minute, we're kind of closing the gap. And then he made a mistake that he didn't mean. He certainly didn't mean it the way y'all took it, but I didn't care because bulletin board material is bulletin board material. And y'all were talking to me right before practice, and you said, Coach, we want to tell you something. I said, what's that? Y'all said, we were working at a rest home building a ramp or something.
Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, is that what it was? Habitat for Humanity. He said, and we were talking to the Terry Sanford coach because he's the Key Club advisor or helper or drove the bus or something. And he said, we were a good young team, and he thought we were going to be really good next year. And I said, well, that's nice of him. And Roy says, yeah, but I kind of took that as him saying we weren't good this year.
I remember.
I don't know if you remember. I photocopied a photograph of that coach, and I put it on the door as y'all walked out of my hut, changing every day. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
And I put a little speaking bubble coming out of it that said, "You guys will be really good." ... next year. And I made sure y'all saw that every day.
And that was the motivation that we needed all year.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, why would you say that, man? You don't say stuff like that. So I always tell other teams to this day, man, you're doing a good job. I don't know how we're going to get you guys, man. Y'all doing great. I always say that.
You don't ever say next year because you know what that'll do to them.
That's right. That's right. You never say that. You say we ain't this ain't our year. So anyways, this, as far as what we built, man, I will tell you all this. My priority was not to go build a big winner. Once I decided, when Jackie asked me at the end of the year, we won that first conference, she said, do you want to, she said, so I need to ask you something. She first asked me, it was right before the conference meeting. She said, so how do you think we're going to finish? She was counting Maxwell Cup points. She said, how do you think we're going to finish? I said, I think the boys are going to be in the top 3. I think we can be as high as 3rd this year. And maybe with lucky breaks, we could win it all. But, Terry Sanford was really good at 71st, was a powerhouse that year. I said, I think we can be in the top 3. She said, okay. She said, what about the girls? And Mr. Max, Fred McMillan, to this day, one of my best friends. Fred McMillan coached the girls mainly. He coached the girls. Yeah, break your hand off.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Everybody knows him, says, don't do that.
That taught me how to properly shake hands.
Goodness,
right.
I just remember Rory and I picking on him daily.
Oh man, well Fred, he coached the girls, and they were like 5th, and I said maybe that we'll be 5th, and there was like 8 teams in the conference. Well, anyways, and she said, so you think you'll be 3rd? I said, yeah, I think we'll be 3rd this year, but I think next year we can win the conference, and I think by the 3rd year we can get to, and that was of course going to be Kevin's senior year. I said, I think we can get to the state championship in the 3rd year. Because Kevin, you were a sophomore when we started. And Miss Warner said to me, I'll never forget, we're sitting in her office. She said, so do I need to find a real coach? I said, no, I got this. Because by then I'd made a decision. I'm gonna stick this out, man. Our goal was to get to state meet. And while all that was important, man, and to teach, work ethic, and I was learning to work and everything, man, I wanted to create a situation where when kids are your age now and older, they look back and go, man, them were the funnest times of my life. I learned some life. I'm sure y'all know, and in fact, a couple of you, I know Grace comment. Y'all know my wife is cancer, right? Did you know
Yes.
that, Kevin?
Yep.
And
I just
she
found that out.
got to go to Chapel Hill Friday. The prognosis is really good. But Stephen Nuns, who helped us win a 4x800 state championship in indoor track in 2004, was a converted skateboard kid. He's a doctor now. He just gave $1,000 to help pay the bills.
Wow.
And I talked to him a little bit last night, just texting, and I said, dude, my wife broke down and cried. He said, Coach, consider it back pay, man, for, the memories and the life lessons and everything I learned being a part of that team. And that meant something to me that, it wasn't just, hey, you taught me how to be a winner. It was, life lessons and the memories and stuff that were important to him. And so, that was my objective. And as I got older, I realized there are more important things in life than just winning sports. It's about being the best that you could possibly be, regardless of your endeavor. And to enjoy doing what you do. And we all enjoy it more if we're good, right?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, we all enjoy it more if we're good at it, but about pursuing your own personal excellence. And to I believe this now, 54 years old now, life is about, in my experience, two things, man. Your decisions and your relationships. Hey, the decisions you make are going to get you either in trouble, out of trouble, going to get you going. You guys know this. And the relationships, the company you keep, man. But not just relationships with people you know and you love and your friends, but people you don't know that well. Like maybe you got a boss man or a boss lady that you don't really like. How do you manage that relationship? You know what I mean? Maybe you got a neighbor who hates your guts. How do you manage that relationship? And the people that you just work. So how you handle those relationships can make your life easier or harder, and to stand up, for what you believe in when you're right. And it's about decisions and relationships. Your relationship with your family, your relationship, you guys, you're going to learn, man, your relationship with your children. You can't say enough about it. You're going to make mistakes as parents, but those relationships, man, your relationship with your wife, your parents, don't forget, hey, listen, mamas need attention when they get older. Are y'all already figuring that one out?
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
Absolutely.
and I don't know, just that's the stuff I've really learned. So I tried to make Southview track and cross country. And cross country was a little easier because everybody's running the same event. Almost a family-oriented atmosphere. I did it on purpose. And that's why we did crazy junk, especially as the years passed. Like Kevin, you never got to go to camp with us. Gray, did you go to camp or did we start that the year? Your first year
was my senior year. Yeah,
that's right.
Because my last year, they're like, hey, and by the way, this is what you guys are getting on our way out.
Oh yeah, Kevin, I remember you said, "Oh, now y'all do all the cool stuff."
Yeah.
Joey,
Brandon
Joey and Jesse. Joey and Jesse were the ones that taught me because they went to the individual camp up there. And you know what? What became the biggest thing about camp? Winning that lip sync contest. I never, and John Weaver told me, he said, the reason you do it is to build team unity, doing something other than sports, other than competing, other than training. And he said, you learn who your leaders are. You learn who your kids that have a sense of humor are. And, that first year we had Jason and Josh Nelms go up there. Do you remember that? And they tried to rap or whatever. It was terrible.
I think Josh Nelms is still.
I think Josh Nelms is actually really good.
He was better than Jason.
Oh no, like now he's like pretty popular, pretty famous
still
with
to
it.
this day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, they went and they did that, but then after that, it got really intense. It became about winning that lip sync contest, and I thought about making, because I videoed everything. Was it your senior year, Kevin? I started making the videos.
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
It was your senior year, I started making the videos.
Worst mistake I did is I showed my girlfriend at the time at the competing.
Do you still
high
have
school.
those, Autry?
And I saw it for the first time so here's, I don't think I ever told you this. So the girl that I was dating at that time went to the rival high school. Oh goodness, I gotta watch that. So I had not seen it, but you let me use it. Let me see. You let me have it, and I won't forget. It was like a Saturday. It was a Saturday night, just like it was a date night back in the day.
Right.
And we're in my living room. I was like, let me just see this video because she ran cross country for Terry Sanford.
I know. I remember
We won't say who it is.
What?
But
you guys dated all the Terry Sanford girls.
Benedict.
She was one of the runners that I had dated at the
I
time.
remember that.
And so we put that video in, and probably still not the smoothest move to do. I bawled like a little baby on that movie, like that that tribute movie of our teams like last year. And here I am, got this girl with me, and I'm just like little baby, like tears.
I'm so disappointed.
I know I might have only shared that story once. I think there's only one other human being in this world that knows. But now there's a little bit more.
You just put it in the world. You just put it out
there. At least 5 more.
You're never going to live that down. You're never going to live that down.
That's amazing.
So
hey, let me tell you this though. I mean, the whole senior tribute movie thing became a very emotional thing as the years went by, man. And it kind of became our senior night. Well, instead of having like other sports had a game that was senior night, I made movie night, senior night. And then at the end, the seniors would go up and always say a few words. And some of the toughest guys were the ones that broke down the hardest, and some of the kids you thought would break down were the ones that had it together. And you just never know. But,
Well, and it goes back to kind of where we started with this conversation, is to building something really special. Obviously, Kevin and I haven't run for you in 20 plus years, and
Right.
we are definitely not alone when it comes to people that have kind of stayed around the program in some way, whether it was helping with uniforms. At one point I remember there was a GoFundMe for that, help track the track getting redone. There wasn't there some kind of trophy case a while back? All of these things.
Yes, and there still is in the works, but we got
but like all of these things, I mean,
government problems.
I don't think that there are many programs anywhere in the state, and probably not that many in the country, and it doesn't happen by accident that you have people that are this far removed from actually competing for the school that tend to still gravitate towards this. And actually, Kevin and I are reconnecting after a really long time. The first time that we really reconnected was to come down to see you win your 20th consecutive men's cross country conference championship. So you've been this,
y'all spoke to the boys.
And I mean, you've been this really key cog in a lot of people's lives. And so now we're transitioning away from, after 23 years of coaching high school cross country and track, we've transitioned over to the creation of this AAU program that is going to really be instrumental into introducing the sport into kids' lives at a younger age. And I'll tell you, one of the things that we have really learned from talking to some of these internationally elite athletes is that a lot of them were exposed to the sport at a really young age. We had on Ben Canute, who is a Olympic triathlete,
right?
And he did his first triathlon at age 8. Okay. We talked to some of these guys, especially overseas, or from different parts of the country where they have middle school cross country, and we don't have that benefit here in North Carolina. So tell us a little bit about, what led to you wanting to, step away from this gigantic thing that you built and just kind of start somewhere else and try to do the same thing.
Well, when COVID hit, like June 1st this year is my last. I'm done teaching. I'm gonna go be a substitute. But June 1st, I'm done teaching. We knew that day was coming. I don't really want to quit teaching. I love teaching. I don't really want to quit coaching. I love coaching. I love coaching in high school. But the way that the retirement system is set up, I got a year and a half of sick leave built up, and I want my money. Okay.
Hey, don't blame me.
Anyway, well, I mean, I basically get that extra year. Not they don't give me one big check or anything. I'm gonna get a couple of checks, but it's more. I've worked a year and a half for free, and so I'm cashing out. I'm gonna go and take the money and run. But also I'm very frustrated with some things politically about the school systems, mainly pertaining to education, but even sports. But we had a great young assistant coach a while back, Derek Workman, who now coaches at Washington and Jefferson. And I've been blessed with a lot of great assistant coaches, a lot of them former athletes that came back. I've got
I remember Derek. Yeah.
Derek was a great, he is a great coach. He's a great coach at Washington, Jefferson in Pennsylvania. Um, Josh Crawford coaching in California. Um,
Fish at Broughton.
Trey down in Florida. It's not Keegan. It's but we got a few coaches, and a lot of folks have coached me. Connor May, my son's best buddy, coaching with me now. But whenever Derek left, he was being approached by quite a few high schools around here about coaching their program. And we were riding back from Pinecrest indoor track meet in the winter. And he was asking me, he said, man, what do you think I should do? I said, well, you're ready to be, a head coach. I didn't really want to coach against him because I knew that he was good. And I said, but I knew he was ready. And I didn't want to be selfish. And I told him this. I said, look, man, you face the famous Captain or William Riker, Commander Riker question. I don't know if you guys watch Star Trek, but there's a moment when Commander Riker, number 2 to Captain Picard, is asked to be a captain. And he said, what would you do? He said, let's be honest about it. As the second officer on the Enterprise, you are on the most elite, advanced spacecraft and all. He just talks about how awesome the Enterprise is. There's a certain prestige that comes with that. You get all the best missions and everything. He said, but if you go to this other ship, you'll be the captain. You won't get the best missions. You won't be on the most elite ship, but it will be your ship. And that's the decision you face. Of course, in the show, he stays with the Enterprise. So I told Derek, I said, you could go be the head coach at Pine Forest. It's not Southview, because we have such a supportive, through the years support. We don't talk enough about what Mr. Barnes did, what Jackie Warner did, what Ronnie Luck, all the great ADs Brian Ekins did. We had some great athletic directors and great principals that were super supportive of what we call, the non-revenue sports, even though we did turn it into one. So what was your question again? I'm sorry, I lost track. How I get
the reason to transition. So why step away from a powerhouse program you built?
We have a new assistant coach, Christopher Wurst. My jump coach with the sprinters, Tony Capers, and Coach Wurst is a young guy, and he is very talented. He was at Terry Sanford, and he ran for Terry Sanford, and he had a kind of a bad experience there. We brought him, and whenever he was unhappy, I went straight down to Dr. Robertson, our principal. She was very receptive. And I said to her, and I said to Chad Barber, who was the AD for us at the time, I said, y'all, if we do not snag this guy, he's going to end up at Grace Creek or Cape Fear. And with the demographics that they have and the support base they have, plus Brian Ekins is now the principal of Cape Fear, who used to be our AD and then principal. I said, we need to grab him now. And we had him in the school the next day. And we got him locked up. Well, when COVID hit, sure enough, Coach Wurst comes in and we start winning. We're winning. We're doing good. And what does everybody in Cumberland County want? The next hot young coach, right? So I went in when COVID hit and they shut the season down. I said, we got to start thinking long-term. Cooper, we all call him Cooper Wurst. His name's Christopher Wurst. I said, he could be the guy for the next 10, 15, or even 20 years like I was. And every great assistant coach wants to eventually be a head coach. And I'm running out of time. I said, mentally, I'm in my prime. But my knees hurt all the time now. I got too many pounds. You get older. And cross country, setting up that cross country course, fellas, ain't little elves that do that.
Oh no, I thought they were.
They're not little cross country fairies out there setting that thing up, and it's getting, it was getting harder. Me and my wife both getting older. She's been a track widow for 23 years, gone every weekend, and so I thought about it, and me and a lot of the coaches in the county had been talking about, while the Raleigh schools dominated the state championship all those years, we say they don't have middle school cross country. but they designed clubs for middle schoolers. You understand? You can ask around about that. Watauga was doing it. Winston-Salem started doing it, but Raleigh was dominating. But the last year, Wilmington, Laney, and Wilmington Hoggard. Hoggard won on the boys' side, and Laney was maybe state runner-up on the girls' side in 4A. And they have in common about 4 or 5 years ago, they started a club system for mainly middle school age kids. And I said, if we do not do what these other people are doing, we're never going to win again. Because just like y'all said, you've got to get kids introduced to it earlier and younger. And you got to make it fun for little kids. You know what I mean? Because I don't want kids to think it's just a job. I mean, why do we play sports? Because it's fun. Hey, yeah, the work, the blood, the sweat, and the tears. So anyways, and so that's what got me motivated. I thought I could, and I told the AD, and they were a little frustrated with me at first because but it was just the right time. COVID, a year off, I could not work with a team. We had a rule. We couldn't work with a team. And I talked to a lot of the boys and girls on the team. We had some meetings. And one night, the guys stayed on and talked to me and the dads. I always have a few dads helping me out. And we stayed on. And the boys, after we talked about training and stuff, we can meet with them on Zoom or Google Meet, but we couldn't train them. And after we were done talking about what we wanted to do, because we had no idea how long we were going to be out, those boys stayed on and talked for an hour with us. Hey, coach, man, my family got a puppy. Hey, coach, I started playing the guitar. Okay. And this went on and on. And when they were done, me and the dads, and I got a great dad named Jason Benefield. He's a colonel here at Fort Bragg. He said, Jesse, the young men on our team are starving for male role models. And that's when we came up with the idea. And he was with me on this. And we said, let's go ahead and turn this thing over. And that's when I said, Cooper, you're going to take over, man. I'm going to go do this AAU team. Got a phone call from a boy. He doesn't have a father in his life regularly. And he was crying real bad one night because some bad stuff that had happened. And I just knew, man, it's time for me to move on. If I'm an AAU coach, I can work with them. So I went out mainly to coach my guys and my girls without breaking any rules. And I could do that as an AAU coach. So we just kicked around the idea. What are we going to? We want to do something kind of, patriotic because we're Fort Bragg, the military, and all that good stuff. And then we had some little brothers and sisters start coming, and then they started bringing friends. And now our team ranges from age 4 up to 18.
Wow.
And
Wow.
we got a little girl who just turned 10. She runs 5:31 in the 1500 guys. She's ranked number 3 in the U.S. right
That's
now.
faster than Kevin.
Yeah. in the mile. Hey, she that's the metric mile. It's 1500 meters. And she's something special. And we got some kids like that are just little dynamic, great kids. They're a lot of fun. And I get hugs, high fives, and it's kind of like y'all were when y'all were little like that. Y'all were like that as high school kids, but I've had fun. The older kids are back in school now. They're still on our roster. We got 72 kids on our roster right now, but we only have about 25 practice regularly with us because the younger kids and middle school's not running yet. So, we got a lot of middle school kids out there running, and that's what we're trying to do. And we welcome kids from other teams. We welcome kids from the number one girl from Terry Sanford, one of her good friends came. And actually, our girls in AAU won state championship at the high school level, and so did our boys. We had a great Southview pack, and then I had the number one runner from E.E. Smith who gave us a front runner. And so that shook out pretty good for us.
Nice.
So what's the name of this badass AAU team, Coach?
The Carolina Liberty.
Carolina Liberty.
Like it.
I was going to wear the shirt, but it started raining on us tonight. I got drenched, man.
The tie-dyed one? I got that one.
Yeah, red, white, and blue tie-dyed. Oh, that's right. The tie-dyed one. And of course, now we got navy. The tie-dyed one has on the back, practice makes permanent. Hey, and then the one we have now is you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. So anyways, with us, it was always like, this is the shirt that says no plan B. with us, it was always about a motivational statement about what we're about. But whenever we would have an invitational, it was more about what's going to be catchy and cool that makes people want to buy the shirt.
Nice.
So anyway,
so Coach, I want to go back to what you had mentioned and what Gray had talked about, which was the Book of Joe. So I want to start tapping into the running mindset. So obviously things, from my I guess from my age, from when I started, and then as the years went on, obviously times just shifted. I mean, the way that you would coach and maybe motivate and inspire, I'd have to think you kind of had to adjust your style for, the way that the newer students were coming in.
Well, not just that, I got older.
And you got older.
I was,
and you're forgetting shit a little bit more.
I was a little bit more. No, it's not even just that. I got older. With y'all, I was almost more of a big brotherly figure or like that young uncle that's kind of cool.
All right. True.
Well, yeah. And when you said your age earlier, I started doing some math. I didn't realize how young you were. Like you were younger than we are now when you were coaching us.
Correct.
I know.
Correct.
I didn't realize that. Sorry, I thought you were older.
That's okay. But I'm just saying, man, now I'm more of a fatherly or almost grandfatherly figure. So my approach, and I believe coaching high school people is 90% about motivation, not just motivating game time. Believe me, you guys know this. You don't go to a cross country meet and the coach gives a great speech and you go play great. You go run great. It's not going to happen like that. All right. It's about motivating to do the work every single day, to motivate to eat right, to sleep right, to make the lifestyle choices. Okay. And lifestyle choices include don't hang out with, people that are drinking and smoking and doing drugs. Hey, don't be up all night texting. Don't be up all night texting. Yeah, I'm talking about Kevin.
I didn't have you heard it, Coach. He didn't know anything, so I got to get away with a lot of stuff back then.
No, you think I didn't know?
I mean, I remember one football game. You had bumped into the guys, and I were like, "Yeah, let's put that away." But hey. So, what are you doing now, though? I mean, so here we are, 2021, and you've got this new program where essentially not even the sky, are the limits for you because of what you're doing down there in Fayetteville and Hope Mills. But so what are you doing now to adjust to, you mentioned 4, so from the 4-year-olds all the way up to your oldest and your elite. So what are you reading right now? How are you keeping up to date with being able to tap into, you mentioned motivation, but that can only go for so long. And is it the same way as like when you were motivating Gray and I back then? So what's it like now?
I think philosophically speaking, it's the same, but the approach, the external, the optics of it all is a little different. Like with you guys that go, hey man, you heard what that coach said? Y'all gonna be good next year. Okay. That's what I'm doing with you high school guys. But, in fact, I was just talking to Janae Hall. You guys probably remember Philip Hall that ran for me. He was on this team. They both were. Janae is in her final year at Eastern Michigan, and they're getting ready to run their conference meet. And the last 2 nights, she's been texting me a lot, asking me about tips about what are some motivational sayings, because she wants to give a little speech to her team and stuff. And she's an outstanding leader. She was for us. And I told her, just be you. Speak from the heart, keep it real, and she'll do that and she'll be good at it. But it's not, I just don't think there's any when I did a speaking thing one time to a bunch of high school kids at camp again, I was listening to all these coaches going up there talking about all these VO2 max workouts and all this technical data, and most of them, God bless them, friends of mine, but they were all talking about how awesome they were. Now, y'all know, and Gray knows this, I don't sleep much at camp. Because when you got a bunch of teenagers at camp, you are worried. It only take one girl to get pregnant, right? You are worried. So I was up. I was last person to sleep every night, and I was the first person up every morning. I will tell you, I was tired. I was starting to see the pink elephants. My brain was wide awake. But these coaches were up there, and I had kind of prepared some things. I went up there, man. And I'm telling y'all this for a reason. They were talking about what's the secret ingredient. And I, what's the key? And I went up there, I said, how many of y'all saw Kung Fu Panda? because there's a new movie then, and all the kids raised their hand. I said, well, y'all remember whenever y'all seen Kung Fu Panda because you got little kids, right?
Yep.
All right. So,
Yeah.
anyways, and do you remember when he kept talking about the secret ingredient, the whole movie? What was it?
Yeah.
His uncle or his grandpa or something kept talking about the secret ingredient. And I went through and I said, all these coaches have said things about hard work and determination and focus and unity, and all that's true. And it's absolutely true. But really, the secret is whatever it is you're doing, you got to remain committed to it. You got to actually do it. You can't go in and say, I said, so nobody up here said anything really that special. The special part comes with the work and the commitment. I said, so what I'm really telling all y'all is there is no special ingredient. And the way I did it, I did it in a way, and all the kids in the auditorium started laughing. I looked over and all the other coaches were pissed at me because they thought I was mocking them, and I was. But
Imagine that.
I did that. I did that with love, though. I did it with a lot of love. I mean, those guys were friends of mine, but it's like, dude, they don't care about your accomplishments. These kids, y'all, I got plaques on the wall. I hate it. Maria, my wife, hangs them up there. You know what I started doing with Coach of the Year plaques and stuff when I got them? I started handing them, like, if we had a parent who cooked a lot of pasta that year, I'd say, hey, if Miss So-and-so didn't feed this team this year, I don't know who did, and I'd give them the plaque. Or we had a dad one year who would set up the whole half the course without me. And, plaque on I don't need a plaque on the wall, man. There's nothing special about me, and there is no secret ingredient. It's just about work, man. And it's about motivation. And with little kids, it's just instead of, hey, man, we're going to whoop that tail, it's more like, come on, buddy. You can do it. You can do it. And I always tell them, hugs are better than drugs. And I got a little girl says, and they're better than bugs. Hugs are better than bugs. and I just joke around with them. We have some fun, but it's not just me. Drew McClain, who he actually ran with Jason and them. He's a little bit right after you. He coaches with me, and he's really good with the kids. And Connor Mang is great with the kids. I got a great dad named Jimmy Cox. It's his daughter that's so good for us. And he was a great runner himself when he's 6'8". Anyways, so his daughter is very tall. That helps her to be so good. She's in 4th grade, but she looks like she's in 7th or 8th until she talks, and then you realize she's really just turned 10. But so it's really, man, I don't know. It's not anything special that we do. It's just about having some fun and working hard and being your best. And their kids, we got one young man right now. I won't say his name. He's had a real troubled life, and he's only 7 or 8, and doesn't live at home. Lives with another family member, and he's real easy to quit and kind of has, and we hang on to him because if we don't, he's going to go another way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He'll be a teenager getting into some trouble. And I've learned this, man. You hang on. People ask me, why you hang on to that kid? Why you hang on that kid to trouble? I say, well, until they tear the team apart, I'm a teacher first, man, and I'm a coach 25th. And what else is that kid gonna have? Until they start doing things like bringing marijuana to practice, or doing something crazy that's gonna tear my team apart.
Sure.
I try to hang out in there. I'm gonna give y'all a name. Javier Alejandro. You guys remember Javier? You probably heard his name. He's one of the best. Yeah. Felipe Alejandro was great for us, but Javier got in a lot of trouble in middle school, and he knows this. I don't think he'll mind me saying this. He was to the show anyway. What's that?
I said no one listens to this anyway.
That's not true. That's not true. But Javier was a guy who at the middle school they were telling me, you're not gonna want Javier, y'all. And Javier and I joke about this a lot. He went with me to camp because he was running at Catawba, and he went with me to camp. But in his last year of college, he ran 4.11 and he was killing it. But Javier ended up being this great young man. He came to Southview High School, and he was basically socially promoted. And he was smart. It was just he was running around the wrong crowd. And anyways, but the thing was, as I put him in honors classes, and everybody thought I was crazy. I said, listen, he's smart. They were like, he don't have the. I said, he's smart. But the problem is, he's a social chameleon. That term is copyrighted Jesse Autry. Hey, but y'all know the kids that whoever they hang around, they get to acting like those kids. So when he was hanging around kids that were troublemakers, guess what? So we got him in, and I said I want him to start every day in my honors class. because I would say, Javier, do you have your materials? You got your notebook? Yeah. And I would make sure he got into a flow. I made sure he had my wife. His sophomore year, he got suspended from, the track championships 2 days. He got suspended the first day because he skipped a class, and it was my wife's class. And I said, where were you? He said, I had to charge my phone. So I hid in the library. I said, dude, you stayed in night. He was so mad at me. I said, do you want to go for the second day too? He said, no, sir. Next day, he won a 2 mile for us.
There you go.
And you know what he did? He ran off track and he hugged me. I said, dude, you know how to get out of the doghouse.
No kidding.
But you know what? After that, I didn't have too many problems with him. His grades went up. The Joker went on to college and did awesome, and he's doing great now in Charlotte, running a business and doing stuff. So awesome. I'm real proud of that. So I love some Javier, man. And me and my wife, we adopted him in house. Just about, so he's family to us. I mean, to get off on a tangent, but fellas,
that's okay.
You knew who you were interviewing. You knew.
We joked on the first episode that whenever we had you on, it would probably take 2 or 3 segments. So we have to do installments of Coach Autry. But so do want to ask you one more question. So whenever you started the AAU team, what were some of the things that you ran into? Some of the roadblocks that maybe you hadn't realized were going to be there, or things that maybe you just didn't even think about having had it provided by the school. What were some of those things that came up that you just weren't expecting?
I'll tell you, number one thing, lack of facilities. We thought we would be able to rent out school facilities and train on tracks. School system would not let anyone on because, they're worried that people are going to leave COVID on the track. And you might pick it up by running on it with your spikes. So, did that come across as sarcastic?
Liability, yeah.
I don't want to get into it.
Oh, trust me, I know.
June the 1st, I retired. June the 2nd, the lid's coming off. All right. Anyways,
we'll have you back on at that point.
We'll do a follow-up on June the 2nd.
Well, anyway, but the school, it's not Southview. It was very, we built the new track. And somebody had mentioned about naming that thing after me. I said, not a chance. Everything at Southview is named after somebody. They ain't here no more, fellas. I said, we ain't doing that. No, not yet. When I die, y'all name it after me. That's fine.
It's like the Madden cover, but it's athletic fields.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. Have y'all ever noticed that?
Is it posthumously, or is it?
No.
It's like a sentence when you get it.
Yeah. I think Randy Ledford football. I think Randy did die before the football field was there. Okay. I loved Randy Ledford. I remember we first started. Me and Randy used to bump heads because he was the football coach and I was the cross country.
But man, in the field, we had to be barefoot on the field.
I remember that. But you know what? He ended up being one of the most supportive people of our program by the time he retired. Mm-hmm. And the football coaches now are wonderful. In fact, our sprint coach is a football coach. Our throw coach last year was my last year was was a coach for the football team. So we learned to work it all out, and it works good. But so coming back to your question,
lack of facilities.
Lack of facilities. But we were lucky that my former AD Jackie Warner was now the mayor, and we got to use Hope Mills Golf Course, and we made some cool cross country course there, 3K version, 5K version. We couldn't have giant meets. We only had meets of some people were like, I can't believe you've got 300 something kids out here racing and 500 parents watching. And I would be like, kiss my, I mean, I just didn't care, man, because I knew, how you hear people talk about all the mental health problems and things. We were already seeing it within the first couple of months of kids breaking down, missing each other. When our girls, we had our first Zoom meeting, we were finally allowed to have one when I was still at Southview. Our first meeting of our girls, they all started crying when they saw each other on camera. Now, I know they could text and FaceTime each other, but as a group, when they saw each other, they were so happy to see each other. And the guys just going, and so we knew. So luckily, they let us use the golf course, and we had some great parents. So facilities, that was big. And right now, just as today, we found out we were trying to put a meet together for track, but again, we're meeting with resistance. And it's not looking good for us because we really need to have a track meet that we can host, because a lot of the meets we're going to, in fact, with AAU, a lot of the meets we're going to, not being able to have facilities, I can't host meets the way I want. When we hosted meets, we can make them distance oriented. We do all the events, but a lot of track meets are sprint centric, Nothing wrong with that, but we're not a sprint driven team. So, those are some of the roadblocks. AAU is different, rules a little bit. I'm not going to get into the discussion that happened at the state championship this year between the meet director and my entire staff, but there were some disagreements about some rules and stuff. Because he started telling me what the rule book said, and I didn't know because I was in high school. When I pulled out the AAU handbook, I said, "Well, this says this." Then from there, and but I'm not as bad. When I was younger, I would fire off my mouth, much more in a mean way. Now I've learned to get more flies with honey. But I think the raising money has been a little tougher, but we've done okay. We've been able to do some nice things for our kids. And you know what? We can't get on a bus and all go. We count on parents to haul everybody everywhere. The everyday commitment you get at a high school, you don't get that with AAU because it's kind of like, some people think of it as rec ball or something, and they're not there all the time, and they don't realize their kid's not going to get better if they're not there on a regular basis. I don't argue with Jesus if a kid's going to church, but there are some days, you need to be there if you want to get better. In high school, I could bring the hammer down on stuff like that. With AAU, because you are working in a parent-driven organization, you appeal to people more. In high school, I'd say, "Hey, look, your kids don't start coming to practice; they're gonna get gone." Here, I say, "Let me just tell you like this: little Jimmy's not gonna get better if he don't. You know what I'm saying? He's not gonna get better, and that's just a reality. And I want and that does work. I can be pretty persuasive with those discussions, so it does work. So that's just a few of the things there, But I will tell you, man, I've had a good time, man. I've enjoyed it. It was nice to get to feeling a little bit of normal again after all the lockdowns and COVID. So it was worth it.
Good. So what type of relationships and what type of new relationships have you met along the way on this new journey? Any that stand out, and how those relationships helped you?
Well, I'll tell you this: new coaches to work with still have a wonderful. It's been neat to forge a relationship with Coach Worst and the folks at Southview. They helped us run our meet. Oh, I shouldn't say that. They were present as observers at our meet whenever we ran our meets, and they didn't do any coaching or anything like that. They didn't break any rules, but they were there and they were helpful, and they let us use their cones and the pickets and the things you do to set up a course. So being an outsider, technically, even though I'm still an insider at Southview, being an outsider and having to ask to borrow equipment that I was the person who got all that equipment there, that's been an interesting thing, but it's been really cool because I can really count on the folks at Southview. I was blessed to be at Southview my entire career. I was blessed to graduate from Southview, and fellow so y'all. There is Southview, and then there's everybody else. That's the fact. Or as the kids would say, period. Okay. If you don't believe me, whenever people say that's not true, I go 21 in a row.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm being silly, but I mean, there's a great amount of pride to be connected. And then the new parents, every year you get new parents. Let me give you all a wild statistic. The best runners we had in our entire program, going back to y'all's day. Okay. Hey, Kevin, I would say your father truly became a friend of mine in those years. All right. Great. Your mom was one of the most supportive parents we had. When I look at the top 10 fastest boys in cross-country history at Southview and 9 of the top 10 girls, do you know what they all have in common? 2 things. 1, this is a trip. 1, an adult male role model and a female role model in the house. Number 2, I knew all their parents on a first name basis, but I didn't know any of those parents before, which means in the time period that their children were with me, we forged a relationship because they were helpful or involved or something, and around all the time. And that's just an observation I made after all these years. I was like, wow, can't just be a coincidence. So relationships are different, but they're always different. It's different having younger parents with younger kids. That's the difference.
Sure.
That's the difference.
Well, and I think that perfectly encapsulates everything. It all boils down to, what you built and the success you've had has all boiled down to the relationships that you've built and, the impact that you've had on everybody's lives. And, Coach, we thank you for joining us tonight. We're gonna wrap the show here, but it's been awesome to have you on. It's been awesome to have you as a part of our lives for so long. It's really important to both of us to be a part of it and to have been around, towards the beginning. And we talk about it. It's come up on the show a couple times, and we talk about it in person. Not being Uncle Rico, stuck in our high school glory days, but like
glory days.
Yeah, like we've.
I'm stuck in my glory days.
Hey, that's okay. But what we've talked about throughout the course of this conversation, just the amount of people. I think we've named probably half of all of Southview cross country in the last 20 years. So, it's been really awesome, and we appreciate you taking the time to come on with us today. And
remember this, fellas. You go into the teaching business and coaching business trying to change lives, and sometimes you realize your life was the one that get changed the most. I learned as much from y'all, if not more, than y'all learned from me. Trust me. And that's just something you figure out, in doing what I do. Is I learned just as much, if not more, from the kids than the kids learn from me. And we all learn together, man. The day you're through learning, you're through.
That's
Don't
right.
forget it. That's an educational saying. By the way, I just want to say this. Gray, I'm very impressed with your practice on your vocabulary. Kevin, have you noticed that? The dude is using some smart people words.
Oh,
I try.
The way it flows out of his mouth too. It's just the way he articulates
when he
that.
When he said encapsulates, I was like, wow.
There you go. I try to bring up the IQ of the show here. But thanks,
Nice.
Coach. Thanks
I
again,
appreciate
Coach.
you guys. Next show, ask Kevin Sullivan why I nicknamed him Frito Lay.
Done. Done.
That will be the episode.
That'll be the topic of our next crosstalk.
Yeah.
I hear you. All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Anything else I can do for you ever, let me know.
Awesome.
Good talking to you, Coach.
All right, guys.
Yeah. And everybody, thanks for listening. Again, thanks to Coach for coming on the show today. If you want to check us out, you can do so on social media. We are at Two Dads Run Podcast on Instagram as well as YouTube. You can also email the show at twodadsrun at gmail.com, or we each have our own personalized email accounts, Gray at twodadsrun.com or Kevin at twodadsrun.com. And also, we are somehow 9 episodes in now, and we have not thanked our producer extraordinaire, Eric Hollister. So, Eric's the one that makes us sound good every week, and we really appreciate all the hard work that he does for the show. And talk to you guys next week.
Talk to you later, everyone.